Hey athletes, welcome to the High School Athlete Nutrition Podcast. I'm Stephanie Militano, your sports dietitian and nutrition coach, here to help you figure out how to fuel your body with simple steps and simple tips every month. So today we're talking about carbs and specifically the fear of carbs within athletes. Something I've been seeing a lot of lately when I'm working with teams or schools or just one-on-one with athletes is a little bit of a hesitation to add more energy, to add more fuel, to add more carbs. And things I hear a lot of are like, well, will I gain weight? Well, if I cut carbs, I feel like I'm lighter, I'm leaner, I'm really focusing on protein because I want to build muscle. And let me tell you something. Cutting out carbs is not only wrong, it's incredibly dangerous for you as a human, but also you as an athlete. So today I want to clear some things up and talk about why carbs are so important and really hunker down into kind of helping you feel confident adding those carbs in, because it's really key in energizing your brain, your muscles, your training, your studying. All of it comes down to carbs. So let's dive into what that looks like. First, we have to talk about, what do carbs actually do? What are they doing for your body? They give your body the energy. They give your brain, your muscles, your digestive system, your nervous system. They give your body the energy to function. Really key as a human, but really important as an athlete. If you think about your reaction time and being able to get off the start line when the gun goes off, or to get off the board and get in the water faster, or to react to a teammate's pass, or to sprint down the field, you have to have quick reactions. In order to have quick reactions, your brain has to make a quick decision and your muscles have to twitch and go really quickly. And that all comes down to glucose. So all the carbohydrates you eat break down to glucose, which gives you energy for sprinting, lifting, long practices, competing at full capacity. It's important that you have those carbs on board. And so when you hear me talk about carbs a lot, I talk about the performance plates and how the more you do, the more fuel you need. So the performance plates that I work with really outline how much carbs you need for each kind of level of training. If you have an easy day or a rest day, so an easy day being like maybe you're just stretching or doing a little bit of a quick shakeout run that's like a mile or 2 miles, you're not doing too much. That is where you can bring your carbs back to about a quarter of your plate at each meal. But the more you do, so if you have about an hour practice, you want to elevate those carbs to a third of your plate. And then if you have 2 days or 2 hours or more of practice, those carbohydrates need to be half of your plate. So you can see that the more you do, the more energy you need, the more carbs you need. So as an athlete, it's really critical that you're eating carbs and you're eating them consistently throughout the day. Let's talk about the why. This part's really important. Why is there a fear of carbs? I think diet culture combined with social media have been a huge downfall when it comes to athlete and performance nutrition, because social media tells you to cut carbs, to choose the high protein options. And yes, we need high protein options as an athlete, but you also really need carbohydrates. And I want you to think about it this way, because most of the athletes I work with, you are focusing on protein, which is awesome, which is really awesome. But think about it a little bit differently. In order to build muscle, you have to energize your body to build that muscle. So if you're only focusing on protein, you're giving your body the building blocks, think like the little bricks and amino acids that you need to rebuild muscle, but you're not giving it the energy to do the work. So you have to make sure you're giving it the carbs, or that energy that your body needs to put those bricks together to build stronger muscle. So diet culture or social media kind of tells us, especially anytime I see what I eat in a day videos, I kind of like, ugh, really? Because it's like ice cubes and small portions and mostly fruits and vegetables. And as an athlete, you need way more than that. You need more than just fruits and veggies on your plate and a little bit of protein. You need a lot of carbs. We just talked about those performance plates. That's what we want to really, really hone in and look at. So when you are scrolling on social media, and if you see someone not eating enough carbohydrates or telling you to choose lower carb or, lower fat and just kind of restrict, I want you to unfollow them or hide them so you don't see that sort of content again. Because the more you see it, the more it drives home that point to you that you shouldn't be eating that much, when as an athlete, you require a large amount of fuel. You have three key things you're fueling. One, you're a human, so just keeping your immune system going, or your menstrual cycle and your hormones going, and building that bone density. You as a human, you need a lot of fuel. Then you're a teenager, and so you are growing into that adult body. So you need a significant amount of fuel for that. And the third piece is you're an athlete. So you need a lot of fuel to be an athlete. And so cutting out options and cutting out food groups is not really an option for you. It's really important that you have a good balance of the carbs, the protein, fats, and color, or fruits and vegetables on your plate. Recently, I was working with an athlete, and we had been working on leveling up her carbs. I'll call her Alex. So Alex and I were talking about leveling up her fuel and adding more carbohydrates, specifically right before practice. She was really nervous about adding food in before practice in general. So we talked about the purpose of carbs and how they're meant to supercharge your blood glucose. And you want to drive that blood sugar up a little bit before you hit practice, because you don't want to start practice immediately start pulling all the energy from your muscles. You want to have a little bit of buffer in your blood sugar before that sugar or energy from your muscles are used. So we talked about adding that fuel in right before training. And after a couple weeks of trying it and trying different carbohydrates, Alex came back to me and was like, her game had changed. Like, she felt better during practice. She wasn't bonking or hitting that wall in the middle of training because she was restricting carbohydrates, and we worked to add more onto her plate. And that last kind of piece was adding more carbohydrates into snacks throughout the day, specifically right before practice. She felt stronger. She felt better. She had more energy at practice. And going back to what I say all the time is, if you're training more efficiently and your skills are better at practice, guess what translates to game day or competition day or race day? That skill. You're a more competitive athlete. So your practices have to be strong. So on competition day, you really are showing up being your best. What happens if you're not getting enough carbohydrates? You might feel tired all of the time. You might have more muscle cramps. You might have trouble focusing, whether it's at practice, at school, or in games. You're just kind of zoning out and losing it a little bit. Slower recovery. So if you have a hard workout and the next day you're feeling really bad, which is totally normal if you have a tough workout. You don't expect you not to have any kind of muscle pain the next day. But if it's taking you like 3 or 4 or 5 days to really recover from a hard training session, you're probably not eating enough carbs to rebuild that muscle. Or if you're noticing big mood swings, like one day you're just kind of feeling really down, one day you're feeling a little bit more reactive, that can just mean your brain doesn't have enough fuel to make those logical decisions. And then lastly, if you notice big changes in your game, you just aren't able to lift as much, or your endurance isn't as great, you probably need to add more carbs to your plate. More fuel, not cutting fuel. This is your permission slip I'm signing right now to always add more fuel if you need it. If you're hungry, listen to your body, add some carbs, add some protein, add some fats. Add those fuel sources and see how your body feels. We touched on the why of carbs. Why do you need carbs? But now it's the how. How do you add carbs to support your energy, your endurance, your strength, and your recovery? One is the plates. So at every meal, you're hitting at least that moderate training plate with a third of your plate carbohydrates, a third protein, a third color or fruits and vegetables, and then 2 servings of fats. That's going to help you drill home the energy from the fats and the carbs, which is really important to have that balance. Then before practice, you want to have a quick snack. So within that hour of training, reaching for a simple carbohydrate snack like applesauce, fruit snacks, pretzels, goldfish, a cracker, something that's a quick carbohydrate, meaning low fiber. It's quickly digested, so the energy isn't sitting in your gut before practice, but it's already gone to your muscles. Those sorts of fuel choices are great in helping you push energy through practice. And then after practice, this is where a lot of athletes make the mistake of just reaching for protein. Yes, you need protein, but going back to what I said, you need carbs to build, energize, and protein to build. So after practice, grab something with a protein and a carb. Chocolate milk is a great example of one of those combinations. First, after practice, you might not be very hungry because you had a really intense practice and your hunger cues are just kind of blunted for a while. Reaching for a liquid like a chocolate milk or a smoothie can be a great way to kickstart recovery without feeling too nauseous and feeling like you're stuffing yourself and having to have a meal. Having that after practice snack gives you time to shower, stretch, breathe, take a minute, maybe do a little bit of homework, and then you can have that full recovery meal, whether it's dinner or lunch, depending on what time your practice was. And then you want those snacks on the go. I call them anytime snacks. So these are the snacks that can hang out in your backpack for a day, a week, a month, but they're there when you're hungry. I think this is the biggest mistake that I see athletes making is they might be hungry an hour or two before dinner or before lunch and like, well, I'm going to eat in an hour anyway. Why bother having a snack? If your body's communicating with you going, knock, knock, hey, I'm hungry, give it some fuel. Maybe you didn't eat enough at the meal before, or maybe you skipped a snack earlier in the day and your body's asking for building blocks now to help strengthen your muscle. Now is when you have to give your body that fuel. So these anytime snacks are great for just throwing in your backpack and leaving for when you need them. So it could be something like granola bars or applesauce pouches. Trail mix is great because it has a mix of proteins and carbs and fats, which is awesome when you add the dried fruit in there. Or you can just simply add some pretzels to your backpack, but just keep something in there where when hunger strikes, you can add some carbs in. If there's some protein as a bonus, awesome. But just getting that anytime snack in is going to be really key whenever that hunger comes up, whether it's the middle of class or middle of the day or right before practice, you have some options. I really want to start shifting the mindset of athletes. I want you to not think about carbs as negative, but carbs are confidence. Carbs give you the energy to play confidently. Carbs give you energy to be strong at practice, to lift more, to do more. They don't make you slow, they make you strong. Carbs don't ruin your progress. They really empower you to push on and make more progress within your sport. So you need the energy. Athletes need the fuel. You can't drive a car on empty, so don't push your body to drive on empty or perform on empty either. You have to give it efficient fuel, and that comes from a good balance of carbs, proteins, and fats. And if you're unsure of how to balance your plate, think about just me keeping it simple, aiming for a third carb, a third protein, a third color, and 2 servings of fat. It's a great foundation to start. And I'm going to talk a lot more about this in my upcoming workshop, Fuel Her Game. It's a female athlete nutrition workshop. I had my first one back in July, and so many athletes came and I had such good feedback. So we're doing another workshop coming up here in November. So if you want to learn more about just building your plate and learning how to add more carbs in and to fuel your goals, join me in this workshop. I will add the link below, but if you want to learn more, you can head to my Instagram. I have lots of information up about the workshop right now, or to my website, smnutritionrd.com/FHG for Fuel Her Goals. We will be talking all about nutrition and giving you some tips, but I think my favorite part of the workshop is the live questions after. So I'm going to be answering your questions to really get to the nitty gritty of how you can break through some of these challenges, maybe like not feeling confident adding carbs in, or looking at what fuel choices could you use. We're going to answer all of that in the workshop. But to wrap up this episode, I want to just say carbs are confidence. And when you're confident, you're empowered, your training is better, you are stronger, and that is the ultimate key. So I challenge you today to add some more carbs. If you don't have enough carbs on your plate, add some more fuel. And if you want to learn about adding more fuel onto your plate, join me in the Fuel Her Game workshop coming up on November 15th. Until next time, guys, happy fueling.